We're learning Parashat Terumah, and in Art Scroll Chumash it's on page 445. Parashat Terumah comes after Parashat Yitro, where we receive the Torah, and Parashat Mishpatim, where we have a lot of mitzvot. Now there is a question: when was this Parsha given to the Jewish people? Because here we're learning about the building of the Mishkan. And the previous Parsha finished with giving of the Torah, and Moshe didn't even come down from the mountain with the luchot, with the tablets. He's going to come down with the tablets in Parshat Kitisa, which is two Parshiyot ahead, Terumah Tetzaveh and then Kitisa. So in Kitisa he's going to come down after 40 days. When was this Parsha given? Because we had the Parshat Yitro, where the Jewish people witnessed the revelation of Hashem. Hashem said the 10 Commandments. And then Moshe went up the Mount Sinai, and he stayed there for 40 days. And that is spoken at the end of Parshat Mishpatim. That Moshe went up, the cloud covered him, and he stayed on the mountain for 40 days. So for sure, the Parshat Terumah and Tetzaveh was not given then. After he came back in Parshat Kitisa, he came back down, he sees that Jewish people built an egel, the calf, and he smashed the luchot. He judged the Jewish people, and then he went up, the next morning he went up to Har Sinai for another 40 days, and then another 40 days, until he came down on Yom Kippur with forgiveness and with a new set of luchot.
Twice he went up, right?
Yeah. And he spent total 3 times 40 days.
If he only went up twice. Wow.
He prayed for 40 days when Hashem forgave him, forgave the people, and then he stayed for another 40 days to receive the Torah second time, which he did on Yom Kippur.
Are you saying that after the golden egel, Moshe forgot everything that Hashem taught him on Har Sinai?
He smashed the luchot.
And he forgot everything? So after 40 days of
he
prayer,
had to receive the Torah again.
Receive it again?
Yes.
So basically, a refresher course?
Something like that, yes. It's a good question, why you need another 40 days. But he was not only learning the Torah, he was also praying that the Jewish people should be worthy to receive the Torah again, and that took 40 days.
Yeah, but why the second 40 days? That was...
The second 40 days, he was praying that Hashem should forgive them and not kill them. And after Hashem said, okay, I'm not going to kill them. So then Moshe prayed for another 40 days so that Hashem should give them the Torah again. So it was relearning and also praying.
What would happen if Hashem, if Moshe prayed another 40 days? So Hashem would completely erase the sin, so Bnei Israel wouldn't suffer anything.
I don't know if that would happen.
That's asking a little too much.
So maybe asking me a little too much. Maybe Moshe knew how much to push, and forgiveness and giving again the Torah is enough. So from giving of the Torah until Yom Kippur, giving of the Torah was in Sivan, right? Let's say early June, and Yom Kippur is middle of September. So all that, those about 4 months, this Parsha wasn't said. And we already saw something like this in Parshat Yitro. In the beginning of Parshat Yitro, we speak about Moshe judging the people. Right? And the commentators say that Moshe could not have been judging the people before the giving of the Torah. Must be, it happened after giving of the Torah. But when did it happen? He was on the mountain this whole time. So when did Yitro come and see Moshe judging people? Must be it happened after Yom Kippur. So even though the portion of Yitro is written before giving of the Torah,
event that happened.
It must be that when he saw Moshe judging people happen after Yom Kippur already.
All the commentators agree on this?
Yes, they argue when did Yitro come. So some say he came before giving of the Torah, some say he came after. But all agree that the event where he saw Moshe judging people happened after. So either Yitro stayed throughout, or he came after Yom Kippur.
Okay, so they're arguing about when he came, but he observed Moshe judge or watched Moshe judge after the Torah was given.
After the Torah was given. So we see that a portion in the Torah can be written in the Torah before it actually takes place. Out of order, not in chronological order. And that's what Rashi always says, Ein mukdam u'miuchar b'Torah. There is nothing that you can say this is earlier and this is later in the Torah. Meaning, just because something is written earlier doesn't mean that it happened earlier. And just because something is written later doesn't mean that it happened later. This is an important rule. And Rashi uses this both in the story of creation, where he says just because something is written in the Torah before, doesn't mean it was created before. We're just mentioning it because eventually it's going to be created, and we're already letting you know that it's going to happen. So here also, in Parshah Terumah, Hashem tells Moshe, tell the Jewish people to build a Mishkan. When did Hashem tell Moshe to build the Mishkan? It couldn't have been before the giving of the Torah. It couldn't have been after giving of the Torah all the way until Yom Kippur. Must be it happened after Yom Kippur. And now the question arises, why do we need Mishkan? Mishkan is the place where the Shekhinah dwells.
You need it for Yom Kippur. For Yom Kippur, no?
For Yom Kippur. It's something we use on Yom Kippur, where the Kohen Gadol goes in. But
So how would it be after?
yeah, first Yom Kippur they didn't do it.
But also, there should not have been a need for it if there was no sin of the Egel, right?
Yes, that's the question. That why do we need a temple? Why do we need a tabernacle? We only need it because Hashem's presence is no longer apparent. It's no longer visible clearly everywhere. It's only concentrated there. Everywhere else, Hashem exists, but you don't feel it as much. And if you want to feel Hashem more, you go to Mishkan, you go to temple. And now we don't have temple, we go to the Wailing Wall, the Western Wall, because this is the remnant of the temple and it has higher concentration of Shekhinah.
When you say, in my mind I was thinking, but you don't feel or experience, is that the same thing? Or
Same thing, yeah. It's there, but you
when you
don't...
feel with your heart, experience can be with any sense.
Okay, both then. Before the Jewish people sinned by building the golden calf, they were all prophets. They could see Hashem. They could communicate with Hashem, and they didn't need a tabernacle. That's why Hashem said to them, "V'shachanti b'tocham," I will dwell among them. Not it's Vasuli Migdash. Right? It's in the sixth Parshah. At the bottom of the page, Pasuk Chet, 8. And they shall make a sanctuary for me so that I may dwell among them. The goal is that I should dwell among them, not in the temple. But after the Jewish people sinned, that was no longer possible. Ideally, what was supposed to happen, that each family was a Beit HaMikdash, was a temple. And the firstborn in each family would be the Kohen. And if a family would want to serve Hashem, they could serve Hashem in their own home. And they could bring offerings in their own backyard. And they could build an altar in every family.
Where do we see a reference? I only see a reference that you're not allowed to build personal altars after.
Once the Jewish people sin, now you're not allowed to build personal altars, because God's presence will only be concentrated in the temple and on the national altar.
Is it derived from
Yeah.
the place where it says you are not allowed to anymore build? That's where they derived from?
We have many places where the Torah says that you're not allowed to bring offerings anywhere except for the place that Hashem designates. And also over here, by answering this question, why was it necessary to build a Mishkan? Right? We say that it was only necessary after the Jewish people fell to the level that we are on now, after the sin of the golden calf, where we are no longer worthy to have Hashem's presence everywhere. And that is why it must be that this portion, that the Parashat Terumah, was given after the sin. Not right away when the Torah was given by the revelation, before Moshe went up, and one of the mitzvot Hashem said, build Mishkan. No. At that time, you didn't need a Mishkan. Only when Moshe Rabbeinu came after Yom Kippur, now the Jewish people needed a Mishkan. And again, this portion is not written in its place. It's supposed to be written later after Parshat Ki Tisa. But Hashem wrote it here, yes.
Two questions then. One, if you remember, who's the commentator that says that Moshe went up for 40 days for the first, second, and third time, and that he had to pray the last two times? Who's the commentator? Do you remember?
You don't need commentator, the Torah says so.
Oh, it says directly?
Yeah, we're gonna see at the end of Parshat Ki Tisa when Moshe has to go up again, and then later in the Sefer Devarim, when Moshe recounts it, he tells them the story, he tells them again, and it mentions 40 days 3 times.
And it says he prayed. All those
Yeah.
Learned the first time that.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes prayed.
Yeah. So maybe at the end of class, maybe we'll look for those places. Okay. Now the Parsha starts with the command that Jewish people must make donations for the temple. Yes.
Usually, there's a reason why the Parsha would be out of order. What is the reason here? The way it's written, as opposed to, I think Rambam says, right? He says usually it should be in order. But if it's
Yes.
not, then there should be a reason.
Yeah. So if you look on at the bottom of page 444 in English, the last paragraph of the first column, it says, indeed, Rashi comments that the instructions regarding the erection of the tabernacle were transmitted only after the incident of the golden calf. The fact that they are given in this chapter is an instance of the common principle that the Torah is not always written in the chronological order in which the events occurred. The commandments regarding the tabernacle are given here because the tabernacle and the Sanhedrin, the seats of so-called ritual and law, are interrelated. The headquarters of the Sanhedrin stood on the Temple Mount, and the instructions for erecting the tabernacle were inscribed right after the civil laws of Mishpatim, because in Judaism the laws of temple offerings and those of slaves and dangerous livestock are equally expressions of God's will, which means since the previous portion spoke about civil laws, and civil laws are Mishpatim are judged by courts, and the highest court, Sanhedrin, sat in the temple. So because of that, we describe construction of the tabernacle right after the civil laws. That's one of the reasons. Because the civil laws and the temple are related. Yeah.
But then it would be before, no? It would be before Mishpatim. Because we're talking about the Sanhedrin, and then we're talking about specific laws.
It doesn't matter. Either way is going to be fine. Whether you say there are laws and they have to be judged by Sanhedrin, or where is Sanhedrin going to sit in the temple. Oh, now let me tell you about the temple. Or you say you need to build a temple, And also, along with the offerings, you're going to have Sanhedrin here. And what is Sanhedrin going to do? They're going to judge the laws. And here are the laws. Either way you go is fine. And either way, it's going to be out of chronological order. But we're going to put them next to each other because they are related. Okay, now, the Parsha starts with donations for the construction of the tabernacle. And that's where the name Terumah. Terumah means elevation. Because when you donate something, you elevate it. Physically, by having a pile of money and saying, this part I'm going to give to someone else. So I'm raising it physically from the pile. And spiritually, that by using this money for a higher purpose, I am elevating myself and this money for higher purpose. And this is what defines the Jewish people. We are a giving people, right? Whenever we have a cause, we are the first to give. No matter what the cause is, we always want to do something for the world. We always want to do something more than just for our personal life, right? Jewish people are always at the forefront of all activities in the world. So it says like this: Hashem spoke to Moshe, tell the Jewish people, let them take from me a portion. From every man whose heart motivates him, you shall take my portion. Which means this was not obligatory. It's a voluntary donation. Only someone who wants to contribute to the building of the temple, he wants to participate in bringing God's presence in the world, only he should participate. You cannot force someone to be close to Hashem. And it describes 16 different items from which the tabernacle was built. Among them are metals like gold, silver, and copper. Different kinds of wool, turquoise wool, purple wool, scarlet wool, linen, goat hair, red-dyed ram skins, tachash skins, different animals, acacia wood, oil, olive oil for illumination, for the menorah, spices, and the spices were used for two things: for anointment oil and for aromatic incense. Precious stones called shoham stones, and other kinds of precious stones called stones for the setting, for the ephod and the breastplate. These are all the things the Jewish people had to donate. It did not depend on whether you're rich or poor. Anybody could give as much as they wanted. And in fact, we're going to see later that Jewish people responded so well and they gave so much that Moshe had to tell them, stop giving. We have more than enough. There was even a sort of a competition. Who is going to give more? So much so that the princes, the leaders of the tribes, they originally said, you know what, we're going to wait to see that if anything is missing, we're going to contribute. Because they thought that maybe Jewish people are only going to provide certain portion, and the majority of it is going to be left, and we're going to provide the majority. But then they saw that the Jewish people provided everything, and they saw that they missed the boat, and they had to be given a separate commandment. And that's when they brought the offerings of the Nesi'im, the offerings of the tribal leaders, when they saw that they missed the opportunity to donate for the temple. Okay, now this is a very important idea. To understand that you are partner with Hashem. Just like Hashem runs the world, you have opportunity to run the world as well. You're not only in this world for yourself. You're not in this world just to earn money for myself and for my family and just to make sure that I'm good and I don't care about the rest of the world. We're here to, number one, make the world a place that is fit for Shekhinah, for God to be here. And we understand that we are in this world as God's managers. Hashem gives us money, not that we should keep it for ourselves, because then it shows that we believe that I'm my own boss and I'm my own provider, that I have to go out and earn my own money for myself. And that's why I have to keep it for myself, because I have no one else to rely on. Who else is going to help me in life if not me? So I keep my money for myself. But if I realize, no, Hashem is my shepherd, Hashem is my provider, He gives me money. And He gives me money as much as I need. And if I spend this money, He's going to give me more. And the longer it's going to take me to spend this money, the less He is going to give me.
There's got to be an exception somehow for savings, for retirement.
The exception is that you have to use your head. You're not allowed to overspend for yourself, right? You're not allowed to make yourself poor on purpose by being irresponsible. But if there is a need and you're able to afford it, you have to provide for that need, and you should not worry, oh, what's going to be with me? Just like Hashem provided you for you until now, He's going to provide for you forever. And when we hear stories about, let's say, Holocaust, where people had to raise huge sums of money to save Jewish people, they would give their last penny, everything, not only money, gold and silver, everything, to save Jewish people. So if someone comes to you now, and people do, and say, oh, I have this difficult situation, I need operation and it costs money, and if I don't do operation, I'm going to die, whatever, are we going to give him money to save him? If someone, if someone kidnaps a Jewish person, they want a ransom, millions of dollars, are we going to give all our money? Or, if same thing, if someone says we need to build a yeshiva to save the Jewish people, are we going to give them money? Or we're going to say, you know what, let them, go somewhere else, let them, it's okay, we'll somehow survive, but I need my money. So if you understand that Hashem gives me money for a purpose, and if I have any extra money, I can either keep it for myself for future, and Hashem's going to say, okay, you already have money, I don't have to give you more, or I'm going to give it for the right cause, and then Hashem will have to provide me with more. And plus, by doing this, I'm going to participate as a partner with Hashem in building the world, in making the world a better place, building the community.
Isn't that part of the concept? They give maaser.
Yes, part of it is maaser. That's sort of a minimum, 10%. You live on 90%, give 10% to others.
And then...
and beyond that, as much as you can afford.
As the community.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be household income or personal income?
If you're alone, it's your personal income. If you're part of a family, then it's your household income.
So let's say the whole family is all relying on one father who's making money, and there's like 4 kids. It's still 10% of your income that you make should go?
Yes, practically, it's, in our times, it's only if you can afford. If you cannot afford, you don't have to. But again, it's advised that even if you think you cannot afford, to push yourself a little bit, not to put yourself in danger, not to starve, but to push yourself a little more, because it is a very good act that is going to make you feel better about yourself. It's going to give you certain satisfaction in your own life. It's going to give you a sense of self-worth, that I'm not just a poor person, I'm so well off that I can even help others. It's going to make you happier. And you're also going to deserve a blessing from Hashem that you're going to get more.
So, obviously, like 5% is better than nothing.
Yeah,
right?
if you
So
cannot give
whatever you
10%,
can afford.
give whatever you can. Yes.
Is there a better way to do it? Like actually hand over money to an organization, or can you set up like a reoccurring thing? Or
Invest in Kirov.
There are different ideas. Some people say, I'm gonna support the poor. If a person is poor, I know he's struggling, I'm gonna help him, and I'm gonna give him food, I'm gonna give him shelter, whatever it takes. And by doing it, you are making people happy, you are taking off stress from people, and potentially you're saving lives, physical lives and emotional, mental lives, because if children grow up in a very poor environment under constant stress, and a husband and wife are stressed, the marriage may fail, children might come up messed up, and by giving them money, you are actually gonna save people. Some people say it's more important to support education, because if you support just poor people, they're gonna stay poor forever. But if you set up a certain kind of course or a job for them and give them a job or train them for something, that's more valuable. Or if people, let's say, are having marriage issues, and you can either invest, just give them money to constantly solve their issues. Let's say they're arguing about going on vacation because they cannot afford, and you tell them, oh, you know what, I'm going to pay for your vacation. Okay, so you resolve their argument for one time, but next time they're going to get into argument again. The husband's going to say to his wife, oh, you went to a store and you spent $5 more than we can afford, and they get into a fight. And you say, okay, don't worry, I'll give you some money again. And like this, you continue giving them money, but you don't educate them how to actually communicate better, how to treat each other better, how to be less selfish and more giving. Instead, you can invest and create a course and train them how to be a better husband and wife. And then you don't have to provide them with this extra boost of money. And the same thing, people might be constantly making mistakes, and you have to save them and the whole community. Instead, you can build a yeshiva, train them how to live a good Jewish life with values and making right decisions. And that's it. You can leave them alone, and for the rest of their life, they're going to live a perfect life, making good decisions and helping others, all because of the initial investment. So some people say it's more important to invest in Torah learning, because ultimately if people know Torah and they practice it, society is going to be perfect. Some people say poor people are greater need, because this is an immediate need. They can starve, they can go crazy if they're under such stress. And some people do half and half.
There's organizations of every kind that he described.
yeah.
But again, the idea is that by giving of your money to others, you strengthen your emunah, your belief in God, that He's the provider. You also fulfill your obligation of charity, of kindness, and you also make yourself a better person. So this is a very important idea, right? Because there are rich people who could have single-handedly built the temple, and Hashem said, no, I don't want. I want everyone to participate as much as they want. Later in Parshat Kitisa, there's going to be another commandment, that for yearly contribution for offerings. And there also Hashem is going to say each person must give half a shekel. Not more, not less. If you're poor, cannot give less. If you're rich, cannot give more. Each person must feel that he has a part in the offerings for the entire Jewish people, in the service of Hashem. So it's important to feel that I am not a simple person, I am an important member of this world, and I'm like a manager, helping this world to function, to continue to exist. I even saw in some non-Jewish books on self-development, they give you this recommendation. They probably got it from the Bible, You probably read it in a Christian Bible, which is the translation from the Jewish Torah. They say, give 10%. And if you give 10%, you're going to be more successful in business. You're going to have self-esteem. And from there, all your success, financial success, is going to start. Imagine, non-Jewish books tell you this. Why? Because it's true. It's true. The Torah is giving us the recipe. If you help others, you're really helping yourself more by doing this, right? Someone who is selfish, he's a small person. People don't want to deal with him, and people despise him. And someone who is giving, no matter what car he drives, people respect, and people listen to their advice, and they want to be their friends. Okay, now again the famous pasuk, Vasuli migdash, they shall make a sanctuary for me, v'shachanti betocham, and I will dwell among them, among each and every Jewish person. Now we'll go to page 447. Now we describe all the furniture, all the vessels that are going to go into the Mishkan. Number one is the Ark, the Aron HaKodesh. It's made of acacia wood. It gives its measurements, 1.5 cubits by 2.5 by 1.5. It's like a box. And it's made from wood, but it has to be covered, Pasuk 11, you shall cover it with pure gold from within and from without, which means it was really 3 boxes. Wooden box in the middle, then a golden box on the inside, and a golden box on the outside. And what's in the ark? Pasuk 16, you shall place in the ark the testimonial tablets that I shall give you. Which means the luchot, the tablets that Moshe is going to bring later, are going to be placed in here. And we said that this is going to be built after Moshe comes. So where will Moshe put them if it's not built yet? So they made a separate Aron to keep it before building the temple, before building the Mishkan. So that when Moshe brought it, they had where to store it. And this one is a different one. Okay, now Ark cover. Ark cover was unique. We see the picture of it on the bottom of page 447, and now here on page 449 it describes it. You shall make a cover of pure gold. And Pasuk 18, you shall make 2 cheruvim of gold hammered out. Cheruvim were shapes of angels, you might say. They had the body of man, face of a child, and they had wings spread on over the ark.
These are considered one of the holier angels?
This is a physical representation of what's happening in the higher worlds. Pasuk 20, the cheruvim shall be with wings spread upward, sheltering the cover with their wings, with their faces toward one another. Toward the cover shall the faces of the cheruvim be. So they were part of the cover, made from the cover, from one piece of gold. It was apparently very heavy, and you had to hammer them out from the, not attached, but hammer out from that one piece of gold. In Pasuk 21, you shall place the cover on the ark from above, and into the ark shall you place the testimonial tablets that I shall give you. And it is there that I will set my meetings with you, and I shall speak with you from the top of the cover, from between the 2 cheruvim. Which means whenever Hashem spoke to Moshe, the voice of Hashem went down into the Holy of Holies, in between the cheruvim, and from there it would emanate forward. And then Moshe would hear it. So whenever Moshe would come into the tabernacle, he would hear the voice coming from the Holy of Holies from between the cheruvim. Not that the cheruvim were speaking, but the voice from Hashem was traveling via the cherubim. Now we speak about the table. This was the table upon which you put bread weekly. Make a table of acacia wood. Pasuk 24.
What's acacia wood?
In Russian we say acacia.
Just a type of wood.
It's a type of wood.
What type of wood is it? I've never heard of this type of wood.
Just Google it. It's going to give you
Acacia tree.
pictures. You have honey made from it. Has nice flowers, and it has good wood. In Hebrew, it's called atzei shittim wood. Covered with pure gold. So the table also was made from wood, but it was covered with gold, and make a gold crown all around, and molding. A crown around for the molding, and rings with staves with which to carry. Each vessel had rings and staves. The ark, the table, because when they traveled, they would carry them by these staves, the sticks. Pasuk 29, page 451. You shall make its dishes, its spoons, its shelving tubes, and its pillars, with which it shall be covered. Of pure gold shall you make them. So all these utensils that were used for the table are from gold. And on a table shall you place show bread before me always. So what was the procedure? Every week, on Friday, they would bake the bread. And then on Shabbat day, they would place the bread on the table. There were 12 loaves, 6 loaves on each side of the table. They would not touch each other. That's why there were these shelving tubes in between. And this bread would stay there the whole week. And then the following Friday, they would bake fresh bread. And on Shabbat, they would remove the old bread and put the fresh bread there. And the old bread, they would divide among Kohanim and they would eat it. And a miracle would happen, and the bread that was a week old would be fresh as if it was just baked. It was warm and soft and delicious. And this was happening every week as long as the tabernacle and later the temple stood.
Is this where the custom? I've seen a family that they actually bakes 12 loaves of flour for Shabbat.
Yeah?
From here.
Yes. Now we go to menorah.
Rabbi Goodman, so his wife is too.
Yes, and then because they have so much loaves, either they make small ones or they have to share. They give out to, or they eat it throughout the week.
They had guests.
Or do you have guests? Yes. Now, menorah is the lamp, right, with the 7 branches. Pasuk 31, you shall make a menorah of pure gold, hammer it out, shall the menorah be, which means also from one chunk of gold, you had to, using just the hammer and I guess some other instruments, you had to hammer out the entire structure. And it says that Moshe tried, but it was so difficult he couldn't. And he prayed and Hashem just made it himself.
Today, are we allowed? There are some restrictions on tools or things that you cannot make.
Yes, we're not supposed to build temple outside of Jerusalem and any utensil. So we're not supposed to make a replica, an exact replica of any of the utensils. So that's why we don't build a 7-branched menorah. For Hanukkah we use 8-branched. In synagogues they use either 5 or 3 or any other number, but not 7.
If we were doing it in Jerusalem, is there anything that would prevent you from doing it either laser cutting from one sheet instead of doing it like from stone?
If you would make it for the temple.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or now they have 3D printing. You can print it.
No, I don't think you could print it. It has to be a chunk first, and it has to extend from it. not little by little.
So it could be carved out. Laser carved
Laser.
out.
Maybe, I don't know.
From a piece of gold or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. There is a special institute, Temple Institute, that
Oh yeah?
studies such questions.
No way.
How to build a temple in our times.
It's a
yeah,
Jewish
yeah.
organization?
Now, you could make it from another material and still not transgress. For example, if you want to make it from wood or any other metal, as long as it's not gold. But we go even further, that people shouldn't make a mistake that we're trying to replicate the temple over here. So in synagogues, we don't use 7. And the menorah had the base, the shaft, cups, knobs, and blossoms for decoration. 6 branches shall emerge from its sides, 3 branches on one side and 3 branches on another, and 1 in the middle. And it describes exactly the ornaments on it: flowers, knobs, almonds. Okay, now we go to the next page. Pasuk 36 describes this in more detail. Their knobs, branches shall be of it, all of it a single hammered piece of pure gold. How much was it? Pasuk 39. Of a talent of pure gold shall he make it. So this is approximately 150 pounds of gold. Sounds like a lot, but since gold is very heavy, 150 pounds of gold is not going to produce such a big menorah, because it's not like silver Shabbat candles that they use now, because they're made from very thin silver and they're hollow in the middle. Here it has to be solid. So 150 pounds is not so much.
Thinking of price-wise.
Price-wise, yes.
But size-wise, it wasn't huge. You would think it's huge, but
Right, it was not huge. Now the roof, chapter 26. The tabernacle had walls made from wood, and it had 3 levels of roof. It was not made from wood or metal, but rather it was made from animal and plant material. Make the tabernacle roof of 10 curtains, and the curtains should be made from thread that's made from twisted linen, turquoise wool, purple wool, scarlet wool, right? So four different materials in the same thread. With a woven design of cheruvim shall you make them, which means in each curtain you had the design of the cheruvim, of these angels.
So they had to dye all this wood, right?
They dyed it separately, and then they would make thread from these 4. So you see, it was shatnez, it was kilain, because it was wool and linen together. In the temple, you're allowed to use it. And the Kohanim also wore kilain. The length of a single curtain, 28 cubits, and the width, 4 cubits. And since you made 10 curtains, you would attach 5 of them as one unit. You would sew them together, and 5 of them as another unit, and then you would spread them on top, and you would connect them with hooks and loops. Pasuk 5 and 4 first. You shall make loops of turquoise wool at the edge of the single curtain at the end of one set, and the same on the other. And Pasuk 5, 50 loops shall you make on the first curtain, and 50 loops shall you make and on the end of the curtain that is on the second set. And Pasuk 6, you shall make 50 hooks of gold, and you shall attach the curtains to one another with the hooks, so that the tabernacle shall become one. This is the first level, the first roof. Then the second, you shall make curtains of goat hair for a tent over the tabernacle. 11 curtains shall you make them. So on top of the wool and linen, you had goat hair. Second level. 11 curtains, which means now you would make 6 curtains and 5 curtains sets, and then you would attach them. And then the third cover, Pasuk 14. You shall make a cover for the tent of red dyed ram skins and a cover of tachash skins above. So these were already waterproof. The first two were not waterproof, from wool, linen, and goat hair. The third layer was from skin, which is against the rain. And that layer was made from ram skins and tachash skins. And there is a machloket whether tachash is a kind of animal that had colorful skin, and it says that
not around anymore?
it's not around anymore. It's extinct. It was basically extinct after they built the tabernacle. It was no longer needed, so it became extinct. So there is a machloket whether these two skins are used within the same roof, red ram skins and colorful tachash skins. Somehow part of the roof is made from one kind, part of the roof is made from another, certain design. Or some say no, it was two separate covers, one ram skins and one on top tachash skin. So according to some there were 3 layers of roof, and according to some there were 4 layers of roof.
So what would they use to replace the animals that's extinct? Like if they needed to.
I guess they were lasting for so long. They didn't need to replace.
No, I'm saying let's say today, Mashiach comes and
Once the temple was built, we didn't use these materials. We used real stone and wood, and the roof was real roof. It was not made from this.
Oh.
So we didn't need it anymore. Now, the walls of the tabernacle. The walls, Pasuk 15, make the planks of the tabernacle of acacia wood, 10 cubits the length. Each cubit is about 1.5, 2 feet. So the height of the tabernacle was about 15 to 20 feet. And on page 457, it shows you how these planks were attached to each other to form a wall. And there were 3 walls.
Like a sukkah?
Like a sukkah. And the 4th wall was an entrance with a screen door. 20 planks on the southern side, 20 planks on the northern side, and 8 planks on the western side. And the eastern side was for the entrance. And they had bars, and you see the bars on the picture to hold the planks in place. They shouldn't wobble. There were bars on the outside, one on top of another on the bottom, and one bar going through inside the planks. Okay, now page 459, the partition, the parochet.
These planks are wooden?
Yeah, acacia wood. The partition was to separate the Holy of Holies from the Holy. You shall make partition, and the partition was made of turquoise wool, purple wool, scarlet wool, and linen. Also 4 kinds of material in the same thread with a woven design of cheruvim. And it was placed on 4 pillars of acacia wood, and the pillars were plated with gold, with golden hooks. Okay, now partitions shall separate for you between the holy and the holy of holies. And in Pasuk 34 we describe the placement of these utensils. You shall put the cover upon the ark of the tabernacle of the testimonial tablets in the Holy of Holies. So the ark belongs in the Holy of Holies. Then you put the partition. Then outside of Holy of Holies, you put the table, the menorah, and the altar. The menorah is on the northern side. I'm sorry, one second. The menorah is on the southern side. The table is on the northern side, and the altar is between them in the middle. Then there was another screen for the entrance of the tent. So there were two screens, one to enter the tabernacle and then one to enter the Holy of Holies. Okay, now we'll go to 27. The altar. There were two altars. One, the golden mizbeach, the golden altar for incense burning, and one for animal offerings, burning animals, and that was outside. That was copper. Now we talk about the offering altar. You shall make the altar of acacia wood. What were the measurements? 5 cubits, so it's about, let's say, 10 feet by 10 feet. Box shall be square, covered with copper, and all the utensils that are used are made from copper, pots, shovels, basins, forks, fire pans, all made from copper. It shall be hollow, so the altar was of hollow wood. Inside you would fill it with earth, and on the outside you would cover it with copper. And then we described the courtyard. So around the tabernacle you had courtyard, and that was surrounded by screen fence. Pasuk 9. You shall make the courtyard of the tabernacle lace hangings of twisted linen, 100 cubits long. So the courtyard of the tabernacle was 100 cubits, which is about between 150 to 200 feet long, and 50 cubits wide, which is between 75 and 100 cubits wide. So you had pillars, and between pillars you had screen, lace, cloth.
Do you know what it is in meters?
In meters, 1 amma is half a meter. So 100 is 50 meters by 25 meters.
And how many cubits?
100 cubits by 50 cubits, which is about 50 meters by 25 meters.
Much easier to remember than feet.
For me, feet is easier.
No, you just take half of what he said. Half of them were cubits.
Yes.
God has no ratio.
Yes. 2 cubits is 1 meter, approximately. Okay. And the courtyard had its own screen. So there were 3 screens. One for the courtyard, one for the tabernacle, and one for the Holy of Holies. And the height of this lace curtains of the courtyard was only 5 cubits. 5 cubits, 2.5 meters, about between, let's say, 8 or 9 feet. Which means the tabernacle was much taller than, the tabernacle was 10 cubits high. The screen fence was only 5 cubits high. So if someone standing on the outside, far enough, he would be able to see the tabernacle in the distance.
When you say screen fence, what do you mean?
What you see around on page 463, the outer fence is screen. It's made from cloth, hung on pillars all around.
See-through? When you say screen? Or?
I don't know, it's probably not see-through, but lace means that it was woven.
Shouldn't they use the waterproof thingy, so just in case?
For what? No, for walls you don't need waterproof. So the tabernacle was waterproof because its walls were made from wood, and its roof had 3 layers, and the topmost was leather.
Mm.
So with this we finish the the donations and the description of the temple, the Mishkan. The temple, the Mishkan was not built now. In the next Parsha, we're going to describe vestments of the Kohanim, the garments of Kohanim. And then we're going to have Parsha Ki Tisa. And only then the Jewish people are actually going to build the Mishkan.
Why so many requirements?
Yeah.
You're serving Hashem. You're serving Hashem has to be...
Precise.
Well,
Yes.
Hashem,
We're finished with this. Shavua Tov. It has to be precise. When you're serving a king, you can't just go with